Michael Jordan's best games. In this video, we're going to talk about the best games played by Michael Jordan, where he proved that he is one of the best players the NBA has ever seen. Our first entry is the 1986 Boston Garden game. It was April 20th, 1986, when Michael put on a historic performance against the Boston Celtics at the Boston Garden. In just his third year in the league, Jordan had already established himself as a rising star, but his performance that day would elevate him to a whole new level. Facing off against a Celtics team that would eventually go on to win the championship that year, Jordan put on an incredible display of scoring. He poured in a stunning 63 points, the most ever scored in a playoff game at the time. Despite the Chicago Bulls ultimately losing the game, Jordan's performance was nothing short of legendary. Jordan's scoring barrage was made all the more impressive by the fact that he was facing one of the best defenses in NBA history. The Celtics boasted some of the game's all-time greats in Larry Bird, Kevin McHale, and Robert Parrish, but none of them could stop Jordan that day. The performance was a coming-of-age moment for Jordan, showcasing his immense talent and potential. It was a game that would cement his status as one of the greatest basketball players of all time, and one that would be remembered for years to come. Up next is the double nickel game. On March 28, 1995, Michael Jordan returned to the NBA after a brief retirement from the sport. It was a highly anticipated comeback, as Jordan was arguably the greatest player in NBA history. He chose to make his comeback in Madison Square Garden against the New York Knicks, a team that had always been a tough opponent for him. Jordan came out strong, scoring 10 points in the first quarter. He continued to dominate the game, making shot after shot, much to the delight of the sold-out crowd. In the fourth quarter, Jordan hit a three-pointer to give the Chicago Bulls the lead. He then made a steal and hit a layup to extend the lead. The game was tight, but with just under a minute to go, Jordan hit a jumper to give the Bulls a 104-101 lead. The Knicks had a chance to tie it, but Jordan made another steal and was fouled, sending him to the free throw line. He sank both free throws, giving him a total of 55 points for the game. The final score was 113-111 in favor of the Bulls, and Jordan delivered an amazing performance, scoring 55 points on 21 of 37 shooting. The game became known as the double nickel game, as Jordan wore the number 45 after his brief retirement. It was a reminder to the world of just how incredible Michael Jordan was as a basketball player, and the game will always be remembered as one of the greatest individual performances in NBA history. Please make sure that you dunk on that subscribe button, because have you seen, this is going to be even crazier. Next is the flu shot game of 1997. The 1997 NBA Finals is one of the most iconic series in NBA history, and the story of Michael Jordan's performance in Game 5, known as the flu game, is one of the most legendary moments in his career. Jordan had been suffering from flu-like symptoms the day of the game and was visibly ill during warm-ups. Despite feeling weak and dehydrated, Jordan started the game and scored 17 points in the first half. As the game wore on, he appeared to tire, but he refused to come out of the game, as the Chicago Bulls desperately needed a win to take control of the series. In the fourth quarter, Jordan summoned all of his energy and scored 15 points, including a clutch three-pointer with less than a minute remaining, to give the Bulls a lead they would never relinquish. Jordan collapsed into Scottie Pippen's arms after hitting the shot, clearly exhausted but determined to carry his team to victory. Up next is the last shot game. The year was 1998, and it was Game 6 of the NBA Finals between the Chicago Bulls and the Utah Jazz. The series was tied at 3-3, and the game was being played in Utah's home arena, the Delta Center. This was the last game that Michael Jordan would play in a Chicago Bulls uniform, and the stakes couldn't have been higher. The game was tightly contested from the opening tip-off, with both teams exchanging leads throughout. With just under a minute left in the game, the score was tied at 86-86. The ball was in Jordan's hands and he drove to the basket but was stripped of the ball by Jazz guard Byron Russell. Jordan managed to recover the ball and dribbled back to the top of the key where he made his infamous crossover move, leaving Russell stumbling backwards. Jordan then stepped back and hit a 20-foot jump shot to give the Bulls an 88-86 lead with 5.2 seconds left in the game. The Jazz had a chance to tie or win the game, but John Stockton missed a three-point attempt, and the rebound was corralled by Bulls forward Tony Kukoc. The Bulls ran out the clock, and Jordan collapsed to the floor in tears, knowing that this was likely his last game in a Bulls uniform. This game-winning shot, which became known as the last shot, was the culmination of Jordan's legendary career. He would retire from basketball after the season, leaving behind a legacy that would inspire generations of basketball players to come. Up next is the shot game. The year was 1989, and Michael Jordan was already well on his way to becoming one of the greatest basketball players of all time. However, the Chicago Bulls were facing a tough test in the first round of the playoffs against the Cleveland Cavaliers. In Game 5 of the series, with the game tied at 99-99, the Bulls had the ball with just a few seconds left on the clock. Jordan took the inbound pass from Brad Sellers and drove toward the basket, jumping in the air and hanging there seemingly forever. As he floated toward the basket, he double-pumped and released the ball over the outstretched arm of Cleveland's Craig Elo. The ball sailed through the air, and as it dropped through the hoop, Jordan pumped his fist in triumph. This shot became known as the shot, and it is one of the most iconic moments in NBA history. It was the culmination of a thrilling game and an incredible series, and it helped cement Jordan's legacy as one of the greatest clutch performances in basketball history. Up next is the game known as the Shot 2. On March 28, 1990, Michael Jordan put on one of the most remarkable scoring performances in NBA history. Facing the Cleveland Cavaliers, Jordan scored a stunning 69 points, leading the Chicago Bulls to a 117-113 victory in a game that would be forever etched in the minds of basketball fans. From the opening tip, it was clear that Jordan was on a mission. He seemed to score at will, hitting jump shots from all over the court, slashing to the basket, and sinking free throws with ease. As the game progressed, the Cavaliers tried everything to stop him, throwing double teams and even triple teams at him, but Jordan was simply unstoppable. As the game drew to a close, the Bulls found themselves trailing by a point with just seconds remaining. In a play that would become known as the Shot 2, Jordan received the ball, dribbled towards the foul line, faked left, spun right, and hit a game-winning jumper that sent the Chicago Stadium crowd into a frenzy. Jordan's 69 points were the fourth highest single-game total in NBA history at the time, and his performance remains one of the greatest individual efforts in the sport's history. It was a testament to Jordan's incredible skill, determination, and will to win, and a reminder that when he was at his best, no one could touch him. So here we come to an end. Stay tuned with Sportflix for similar amazing videos.